Hello, I'm Clark Farley.
And I'm Denise Fazzaro. Tonight's topic, there was this briefing a while ago. I only saw part of it, and my friend said it was really good. Can you do that one again?
In Denise's defense, I changed the script like totally maybe 20 minutes ago, so bear with her because she's not at least hitting me or anything.
No, not tonight.
Yeah.
So we are coming to you live from the Westerly, Rhode Island office of Randall Realtors, and we invite you to spend a little bit of time with us as we share our insights and experiences, tips and tactics acquired over quite a few years. Our goal, help you become a better buyer and a skilled seller.
And I realize now that I did my part of that intro and she already covered everything, except for the part about how we look to take our experiences and plug into situations and challenges that the average buyer, the average seller encounters on the way to the closing. And I kind of like to think of it as a good set of vice grips as opposed to an 80-piece crescent wrench set. She didn't say that at all.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
But you guys get it, though, right?
So this week, as I said, we are going to be talking about some past briefings and some of the questions that have come up in those briefings. And so before we get started, though, I want you to know that all of our briefings are stored on YouTube and Facebook. We are live on both platforms. We also would like you to subscribe on YouTube, like us on Facebook. We are also on Instagram and Twitter. And on Instagram, we do a weekly Where in South County Are We? So check that out. It's a lot of fun to try to guess where some of the local landmarks are that Clark puts on there. So check those out too.
Yeah. What she said. Well, I got to scroll down. I'm in control of the production here.
For the first time.
But it's a good point about our title this week. There was a briefing I saw a while ago. That is the YouTube part. So basically, it's a library of all of what we've taped so far in the what's been 2-3 months already.
Yes, already. So please, we really depend on questions to get going here. And tonight's going to be about a lot of questions that we've had. So please use the chat box either on YouTube or Facebook Live to ask us any questions. If we don't get them to them tonight, we'll use them for future shows. But we would like you to ask us anything. And right now, we're going to ask you a question. What question are we going to ask, Clark?
Why don't you go put in your comment box there, the chat box, so where you're viewing us from? Because we're aimed here. We're located in Westerly. We're really hoping to see somebody say Boise, Idaho. But we throw in a comment to let us know where you're calling from. It helps us in terms of seeing the demographic we're reaching and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be kind of fun too.
That's right. So please don't hesitate to put a question down there. So one of the things that, one of the top things that we talk about all the time is the team building. Whether you're buying or selling, we really suggest you build your team when you're getting into the process, not after the process has started. So you can find what we have to suggest about building your team on our past briefings. And do you have anything to say about that, Clark? Because you're just looking around and you're not helping me out here. Come on.
Wait a minute. Wait. This is a bullet point kind of thing that we're doing. It's going to be clever once we get the bugs worked out. But what you're saying about the team building, we repeat some of the themes because they're just good practice.
Mm-hmm.
Building a team before you go out to buy a house is just plain a good practice as a buyer. You can't go wrong with
So
it.
some of the things we're doing tonight is just kind of giving you a little tidbit of some of the questions that we've covered and some of the things that we've had answers. So if you have a question about it, and look at that, everything's down. Those are Clark's, never mind. Just ask us the question and we'll answer it. But otherwise, we're just going to move on to the next subject. So we talked about building a team. Some realtor questions that we have. People ask us whether they're a buyer or a seller. Do I need to pay a commission? Especially buyers ask us that. Sellers tend to know that they're expected to pay a commission to a real estate agent. But a lot of buyers, especially first-time buyers, don't know how that works. The easy answer to that is Yes, you are paying commissions.
Yeah,
You
right.
are. Whether you pay it at the closing to the in price, or if you're, but the buyer's agent does get paid at closing.
That's actually more of the question that I run into, which is, hey, Clark, how do you get paid?
Mhm.
Because they know by the time we get to the point of putting in an offer and all, they know that there are co-broks.
Right.
And they're concerned that I'm not getting paid enough money, as I am.
Mhm.
But the idea of, I actually had somebody in a recent
Go back to comments. You might miss some.
transaction that was, hey, how much do I write the check out to you? The buyer was,
And you've disappeared. Are we back, Martha Jean? Can you see us now? Hopefully. I don't know what you heard last, but here we are back on. And
it
so
does. Okay, let's continue on.
yes.
Actually, can you go back to that question, which may or may not have been interrupted by the cutoff? Is the
About the commission?
no, about the
What's
down
the-
payment versus the
What's happened if it finds something really? Oh, that's you, Clark. What's the difference between a down payment, earnest money deposit, and what's up with the second deposit? And what is cash to closing? So if you're putting in an offer, you have to make what is called an earnest money deposit in order to make your offer valid.
Mhm.
And that can be any amount of money. And some sellers like to see a large earnest money deposit, and some are perfectly fine with a small one.
It's negotiable. in
It
other
is
words.
negotiable. The
No.
second deposit is typically made after the contract is accepted, and that is a deposit that is again applied to your down payment, just like your earnest money deposit is applied to your down payment. So if you're getting a traditional mortgage, say 20% down, and you put down 5% total with your earnest money deposit and your second deposit, at the closing, you'll pay the other 15%.
Okay.
I think that's the easiest way to explain it, right?
Now, do you think it's valid to say down payment is basically the difference between how much you paid on the contract and how much you're financing?
If you're financing, you still can
Yeah.
make
Or the earnest money
Deposit.
is good faith money.
right. There's the two different words
Yeah.
is deposit and down payment.
Yeah.
That's the two different words.
And that's part of the confusion.
Right.
Too.
It is, because the down payment, I think, always has to do with financing.
Yep.
And deposit
Everything
has
has
to
an
do
accountant.
with what you've put
Binding, making a contract binding.
right, making exactly.
A consideration is the
Or
second
consideration it's called. So that's easy, the easy difference. So if you have any questions about that, you can put them in our comment section. And
one. And then the third one is the cash to closing, which is kind of
right.
related. And the idea is you've got all your money will be accounted for at the closing. The buyer's attorney traditionally in this area will conduct that closing, and they'll account for all of the money. Your deposit is you get credit for that. When all of the costs are bottomed out, including how much you're getting from the bank to finance, that's called the cash closing figure, and you actually get that from your attorney, you're the buyer, just before the closing, because that's the money you need to bring to make the whole thing whole.
And some people are shocked by the number because a lot of times it's not just the percentage that you agreed to put down with your financer that you owe. A lot of times there's taxes involved, or there's oil. You have to pay for the oil. If there's oil in the tank or propane in the tank when you buy the house, the sellers expect you to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's oil and propane you're going to be using. So there's some tax adjustments and stuff like that that are going to be included in that. But your attorney will give you all of that information, and you will get an estimate even well before the closing, so you have an idea of how much money you have to bring to closing. Now, some buyers will ask for closing cost, and you can get an estimate of what those closing costs will be, and you can ask for those, and that kind of rolls it into your mortgage.
Yeah, and now we're probably going beyond the bounds of this question, but the idea of you get a good faith estimate, you get a cash to closing. But the cash to closing is interesting because literally it doesn't happen until the last minute, and you need a bank check for it. Because that's the check you bring to closing, and the bank gives you a check for a bunch of money, and everybody's happy, and you leave with the keys.
Right. So the other question that we have had is, can my parents go in on the mortgage with us?
Oh, yeah.
So that's a tricky mortgage, but it can be done.
Yep.
And we can leave it at that because we're going to have a mortgage person on someday. They can answer all those questions. So if you do have any questions about going on, doing a mortgage with someone who doesn't live in the house, whether it's a parent or a friend, or two friends want to get together and buy a beach house.
I heard there was a cool term for that.
What is that cool term?
It's a non-resident co-borrower,
which is just a term we use. But
people
you want to buy a house with somebody else who you're not married to, or is not going to live in the house. Well, I guess married to isn't the thing. Not going to live in the house with you.
Not benefiting.
Right. Then you need to speak to a lender about that type of mortgage.
But you're part of your buyer team.
Part of your buyer team, right. So the other question is, can I get a gift towards the down payment? And every mortgage is a little bit different with that. Most mortgages, yes, you can get a gift. But some of those are limited. And the bottom line is, any money you have for a down payment, you have to prove where that money came from.
Yeah.
So if you're getting a mortgage and mom and dad decide to give you $10,000 towards your down payment, they can't just put it in your account and it goes and the bank will say, oh, that's okay. The bank's going to want to know where it came from. So you can write a gift statement and that covers that. Or if you had money under the mattress and you're going to use that for your down payment, then you need to put it in the bank well before you start looking for a house, because they want to see your deposits seasoned. So that means it has to be in your bank for quite a while before they'll allow you to use it. So you can't, if you're going to get a mortgage, you can't just take money from that you've been storing in the house because you didn't trust the bank and use it towards the purchase.
And this, at the risk of being a total buzzkill, as I've been accused of by some people, that the whole preparing yourself before you even look at the first house, this kind of stuff. Because, realistically speaking, if you're a buyer, especially first-time buyer, you're going to know that if you have some hurdles, deal with them up front, get them done. Because what Denise said about the aging of monies and paper trails is a real kind of a pain in the neck and can add to the stress. And we both hate stress.
That's right. That's why we're doing these.
That's right.
So we can help you relieve your stress.
So we'll ask people out there, has anybody done that kind of mortgage? Have you, anybody out there? Add in the comments. Put it in the comments. Have you ever purchased a house and done financing that involved what are they called again? Non-resident co-borrower?
Well, we went beyond that because we started talking about getting money as a gift. But if you've gotten money as a gift,
sure.
Let us know.
Let us know down in the comments.
Yeah. So also, we have the other questions we have is, suppose my lender isn't ready, or needs more time.
Yeah.
And what happens if the seller, so typically you can ask for an extension,
Yeah.
and the seller typically has an investment now and you're purchasing his property, so he'll grant it. But if they don't, then yes, you can get your earnest money your deposit back, and that you would lose out on your
Big aspect there, though.
inspections.
That's totally where you want to be, knowing the contract, conforming.
And quite
to
honestly, I've never had that happen to me. Everyone I've ever had is granted an extension. I have never
in
ever
practice,
had. I've never had a seller say, "Never mind."
In practice, that's true. It makes sense. Don't assume it.
Don't assume it. But they are invested. They've invested. They've taken the house off the market. They've invested time in the fact that you're going to do it. If they were to put the house back on the market, even in today's market, and another buyer who was doing a mortgage came forward, they would still be 60 days out to sell. So
Right.
it's in their best interest to also negotiate a new closing date with you. What happens if you get turned down by your lender? Hey, situations change. Maybe you lost your job, or maybe you didn't listen to what your realtors and your mortgage originator said, and you went out and bought a new car.
Yeah.
Things happen that change your whether or not you're able to borrow. If you're not able to borrow, you need to get that in writing from your lender, and then you can also get your deposit back, because you do have a mortgage contingency. So that's basically the bottom line, is that you do have that protection with your mortgage contingency, but you do need to get it in writing from your lender.
Well, most of the contracts that we use here in Rhode Island, the MLS has a form. Connecticut, most state MLSs have very standardized and well-written contracts, and the protections are there for both sides, the buyers and the sellers. But you really, really, really need to make sure that you do it. We have 16 minutes left. Wow.
No, we did 16 minutes already.
Oh, did we?
Yep.
It just flew right by,
It
didn't it?
did. Absolutely.
To somebody put in comments, did the time fly?
You have to go back to the comment page if you want to see the comments.
No, actually, I can see up there where it doesn't say comments.
No.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Would somebody prove Denise wrong and write a comment saying, Denise, it's up in the, oh, we shouldn't do this.
No. All right. So the next question is about inspections.
Okay.
So who pays for the inspections? The buyer always pays for the inspections.
It's your inspection.
It's your inspection. They're for your purposes. It's your information. The only time that a buyer isn't paying for the inspections is in the case of a military, a VA loan. VA loans, the seller has to pay for a pest inspection.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only time I've seen that. Now, I know in Connecticut, they do ask who's paying, whether it's seller or buyer, but I have never, ever seen a buyer ask the seller to pay for inspections.
Yeah, I mean, when you think it through, why would you? Because it's your interests that you're looking out for. And, I've had buyers sometimes say, especially if something like fell through, can we get the other person's inspection? There's no short, you're dealing with the largest financial transaction.
Absolutely. You want to have your own inspector. You want to walk around the house with the inspector and hear what he or she has to say and be there. So it's money well spent.
Oh, yeah.
Money well spent. Plus, you learn little tips on how to maintain your house.
That being said, now we'll have a whole different, as we've already touched on in previous briefings, is this competitive market where people are saying things like, to their credit, they're saying, well, we won't ask you to do anything. We'll have inspections for informational purposes only, is the phrase. Big risks.
It is a risk, but sometimes you can do that if you've got a good eye for the house, and then you also can still walk away from the deal if there's a deal breaker, if the septic fails or something like that. I would never advise, if my clients wanted to put for information purposes only, I would still put in there that we can have the option of walking away if there's something big. And that also doesn't mean you can't ask.
No, in my practice in foreclosed properties, that's a given in the sense that for the most part, most foreclosed properties are sold as is. However, you do have the right to What time?
1933.
Oh, okay. You have a right to do the inspection for those informational purposes. So they give you the out if you see something that makes you not want to buy it. You just don't plan on fixing anything.
Right.
Oh, we don't.
Well, we're almost done. So let's go real quick to the closing questions.
Oh.
Do I need a lawyer? Yes,
Sure.
either a lawyer or a title company. Title companies also do closings in other states.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of work behind the scenes that the lawyer does, making sure that you have a clear title, making sure the loan documents are accurate. Here in our part of the state, they get your water readings. In northern part of the state, that's the agent's job. But you do need your team. You need your team. And even if you were not working with an agent and you were not doing your own inspections in the state of Rhode Island, you need an attorney to close.
Yeah. And you need a team. I mean,
Yeah.
even if it's not your first house, why would you not get your
Well,
people
just
together?
because laws change so much too. I mean, it really does change a lot. So yes, you need a lawyer. And if something does go wrong on the final day of walkthrough, we take it to the closing and the attorney decides how that works. Sometimes they'll hold money in escrow. Other times the deal is over. So
You've had that a couple of times with a house full of stuff, right?
yes, where we've held money in escrow till the house was cleaned out. And then once the house got cleaned out, the money was released to the seller. So it does happen.
And I'll say because I've encountered it from the listing agent side, there's never a reason not to do a walkthrough.
Oh, no, you need to do a walkthrough.
I've run into the occasional agent who's, or the buyers, what could happen in a day?
Right.
I'll tell you next time.
Yeah. Well, you had one case where you had graffiti all over the walls, right?
Oh, no. That was a milder
Many
case.
years ago.
I had the one where they both thought, we were there 2 days ago. And I said, you probably should. It was all right when I was there, that one day later. But when I went through the walkthrough after them, the copper was missing, like the morning of the closing, which they would have bought a house without plumbing, which hardly anybody wants to do that. So it was good. And again, no agent worth their license is ever going to say, no.
Let's not do a walkthrough. Right. So once again, you can view all of our past briefings on YouTube. Please subscribe when you get there.
22 minutes.
Yes, we're going over. And follow us on Facebook. And please share. Other people would like to know what we're talking about.
Yes.
Especially if you know that they're interested in maybe selling a house right now in this very good market for sellers. Or if you're interested in buying and you're having struggles trying to get your offer accepted, you'll get some good tidbits here.
Or if they have people in Idaho.
Or if you have people in Idaho, let them know because Clark really wants to see a message from Idaho. So please, I wish I knew somebody in Idaho. Anyway, we do the weekly Where in South County Are We on Instagram. So check that out if you're from the area. It's kind of fun. There's some really easy ones and then there's some really
we're starting
you're
to
going to have to think about it.
We're starting to get into the where something used to be kind of pictures.
Oh, that's very New England, very Rhode Island, where it used to be.
Like where
so can you scroll down so I can see where we're going to finish here?
Oh.
Again, if you have any questions, we would love to answer them on any future show. So you can send us an email. Our email address was on the bottom of the screen, but for some reason, Clark got rid of that.
Yeah.
But he'll bring it back in a second. But you can send us a email. Come on, Clark.
We worked the other